This is Della Show, and you're listening to DisArmed at the Armory Club in San Francisco.
Hey boys, my man Curtis sure came through for us this time, did he, man? I'm annihilated, you know?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to DisArmed at the Armory. I'm here with Bonobo the Clown and super event wonder gal, Kat Robichaud. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful, wonderful. So to start out, let's move this over here. I wanted to find out, because you have a lot of plates spinning in terms of events. We'll kind of get into some of those. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but so Kat is a producer and a musician and a singer.
Yes.
And keep going with me.
No, I think you got it.
That's the triad?
I'm a producer, I'm a singer-songwriter, and I'm an entertainer.
Yeah. And producer of events primarily, or that's what I was going to say. I thought perhaps your flagship event is the Misfit Cabaret.
Misfit Cabaret.
Misfit Cabaret. So
Yeah.
let's talk about that. When did that start? How did you kick it up? What was the impetus? Where did it come from? Before that, you're just recently, and when I say recent, I mean like relatively a few years out here, right?
Yeah, I'd only been here for about a year.
You've only been in the Bay Area for a year.
I've been here for almost 5 now.
Okay,
But
gotcha.
when I met my co-producer Jordan Nathan, I'd been here for about a year.
Where'd you meet Jordan Nathan?
I met her at Paul Nathan's Speakeasy,
Yeah.
the conservatory.
Yeah.
Did you really?
I did. Victoria Victrola hired me to do her show, Panic and Give Up.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and at that point, you know, I had been on The Voice, and then as soon as I got off of it, I put out an album. I was still living in North Carolina. And then I moved here and very quickly realized that I wasn't going to be able to afford to hire a band every time I played a show out because you don't make any money. And it's not an all-in situation. I pay my performers every time we, have a gig, whether I get paid or not. So, so I scaled back to just a keyboardist, and I went from, having over a decade of experience as a frontwoman in a rock and roll band to all of a sudden being thrust into this cabaret lounge situation.
Now, that was in North Carolina?
That was here.
Oh,
so
okay.
when I moved here, I put a band togetger.
Oh, okay.
Which is now the Darling Misfits.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
No, they're all still in North Carolina.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah.
heard it. Did you hear it just now?
Oh,
there's
my
around
accent?
some turns. You can kind of North Kakalaka gal. Yeah. Where at? North Carolina.
Here and there. I lived in Raleigh. I went to school at NC State and ended up there and was in a band for like 7 years.
That's where my dad's from.
Raleigh?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Raleigh's
Well, they're
great.
in, what is it? Not Raleigh. I want to say Morgan Hill, but that's here in the Bay Area.
Whatever you want to do.
What's the main N hill?
Fresno.
It's some sort of
Chapel
hill.
Hill.
Chapel Hill. That's
Chapel
where
Hill.
he was born. Yeah.
Yeah, Chapel Hill is gorgeous. A little bit more liberal
Morgan Hill.
than Raleigh.
Why, those places, every time I talk to people who are out there, make a la creme, one candidate, it always sounds like there's so much fun. It's beautiful. I've been there.
Is.
The biosphere is like just beaming green and vibrant. They got little scenes that are kind of fun. I mean, what drove you to this godforsaken
Hey,
I don't know.
San Fran shithole?
What happened to you?
I played in a band for 7 years and I didn't feel like I could really be myself because there is such an amazing. There's like North Carolina is beautiful, and there's so much to do there, and there's a lot of culture, and the food's amazing, the alcohol's amazing, but they don't really have a glam rock cabaret scene.
They didn't have that one box checked off for you.
It was, you know, I watched my friends who are in a very successful band called Delta Ray. They used to open for us, and then they got signed with Warner Brothers, and now
What, like alt blues or what were?
they're like alt country and folk rock, and then I have another friend that's in a band called American Aquarium, that's Americana, and that's what really is popular in the Southeast.
Yeah.
But did they escape the biosphere to become that to get that exposure?
I like how it's a biosphere now.
No, that's what people love, that's what people love in the South. So I moved here, and it's like I found my tribe immediately.
But you met Jordan once you got here.
Yeah.
So what
and she's
was
from
it?
North Carolina too.
That's
See,
what,
and I
that's what I
always
thought.
Yeah.
I thought you two knew
There's
each other
so
there.
many of us.
You didn't know
North
each other there.
Carolinians. No.
There's at least
So
who
was it that pulled, or what was the step that, you know, the fire that made you? Was there a person? Was there
No, it was
an opportunity?
So I had just gotten off The Voice, and my husband had just got his doctorate,
Right.
and it was time for him to get a job, and time for me to move on from North Carolina because I'd exhausted.
How long you guys were already married?
Yeah, we've been together for I don't know, 11 years.
So you were together 6 years, and you're like looking at each other, going, "We need to have a little reset.
Yeah.
If not just for us,
Yeah.
for our artistic,
How did you know?
palette. Let's go." And then they take the globe.
No, it was so The Voice is filmed in LA, and it was essentially like, well, I knew I wasn't going to be able to afford to just move anywhere or whatever. You know, Gam is kind of the breadwinner more or less, and so it was wherever he could get a job, and it was, let's try for San Francisco, LA, Austin, and then a couple other places, and
Portland didn't make it?
no. I wanted to be. I think I wanted to be near. I think I wanted to be near LA. At the time, it felt like it was really important. And I have gone down to LA, and I perform there all the time.
Entertainment capital industry.
Here's to visiting LA.
Yeah, I love LA.
And not living there.
I mean, I could live
bless
in
it.
LA.
I could live in LA too.
I could. But you know, so my husband is an engineer, and because of all the startups here and everything, this just made sense.
So
No, he biochem.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Even
Big
still,
music
I'm not allowed
big
to
industry
say,
here.
I'm not allowed to call him tech industry. He gets
we're
really
not going to
upset.
say a word.
We're not judgmental people.
Digital record.
So how did you meet? So you met Jordan because when you came to San Francisco after The Voice, and she came to you at a show.
Well, yeah, because Jordan is Paul's niece,
Right?
And I played Paul's speakeasy for.
Okay, so how did you get hooked
Victrola's.
into Paul's speakeasy? I guess.
So so I played Victoria Victrola's show, Panicking Give Up.
Gotcha.
And Paul was there that night, and Jordan was there that night, and Jordan approached me after the show, and she said she hired me to do her show Topless Tapas.
Right.
And so I did that, and then after that, she said, we have got to do a show together. And
Holy shit.
So she was
I always thought that you guys went way back before that.
No.
For some reason. I mean,
She was being Paul's marionette, because I've heard the inside Paul Nathan story, which is always skewed. It's always skewed. It's not,
Oh, he wanted to do a show with me.
Yeah.
But Jordan beat him to it.
He kind of like has a Don Quixote version of reality, So I said, how did you, somehow Kat came up in a conversation. I said, how did you, because I knew that you and Jordan were, together teaming with events and stuff. And I said, how did you meet Kat? Robichaud. I discovered her. He goes into that Robotalk, and he's kind of like this. I discovered her. She played my place, and I heard her, and I said, I want this. I want this to blow up. This is going to blow up. I want to be there for it.
Really good impression.
I've known him for like 20 years.
That's scary.
Well, but it's tricky, and you're in your second glass of wine.
Yeah.
To have that kind of diction when you talk that fast.
I put myself into, it's almost like you inhabit him for a while, you start to talk with Paul Nathan voice.
I would not say Paul discovered me, because I had already been in the music industry for well over a decade, and I'd already been on The Voice, where millions of people had watched me over the years. And I would also say that Victoria Victrola was the one who brought me to his place.
Right.
That being said, Paul has played an enormous part in the success of Misfit Cabaret and helping Jordan and I get started.
Because you guys, for a while, it was mounted at the theater, right? The Great Star.
Yep. So we did it at the Speakeasy for a year, and then Jordan.
Great Star Theater down in Chinatown.
Yeah.
No mas.
No mas.
No.
And Paul really. That's another thing. Like Paul really tried to make that a super vibrant space and bring it back to life, and the landlord.
Yeah,
whatever.
That was a
San
total
Francisco.
Greek tragedy, that story.
But yeah, so we did the Speakeasy for a year, and then Jordan insisted that we were ready to go to the Great Star, and I guess we were, because then, we had 2 really successful years at the Great Star, and now we are
I was
getting ready
able to
start.
see, that was the first time I saw you, was at the show there.
Which one was it? Do you remember?
I think it was a Halloween show. If that,
That's
with
about
that,
right.
yeah. I think
Did
that
we have
was it.
Suspension, or was it Psycho?
Suspension or Psycho. There was
Somebody-
2 flavors.
Did we have
I think it was
somebody-
Suspension, because there was definitely, there was
Somebody was hanging from hooks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. Paul was like, "Don't do that performance. You're going to alienate a lot of people." And I said, "I don't care. This is."
Alienated in what way?
Well, there's
I mean,
not a lot of
it
people
freaks
who
people
are.
out.
Yeah, that takes.
Because
It's not
of
really our
the
branding.
danger.
We're a little bit,
just-
we're a little bit safer of a show.
it's good for your
We're more
flesh.
tongue in cheek, and it was like, it's literally hooks in somebody's
Right?
flesh, and they're hanging.
You see how low the mighty have fallen? Like now that's.
What do you mean?
That used to
No,
be
it's
every
always
weekend
been-
in San
it's always
Francisco.
an at-risk
Hooks
decision
in the
for sure.
flesh.
We used to with Bohemian Carnival. We had that once in a
Cannonballs
while, and
through the
it
skull.
was definitely. There's a big chunk of the crowd that it was a lot for. When you put some giant hooks to some dude's shoulders and
Just
lift him or her up.
But the way that we
It's a
did
lot.
it,
Squeamish factor.
It's just
it was
built
so
in.
it was
Yeah,
really
yeah.
artistic, and the thing is that she sang opera,
Right.
That was it.
and it's
that
like,
was it. Yeah.
we wouldn't just have somebody hang, because then what do you do?
Yeah.
The show is a musical.
Right.
So when one of my friends said, I know someone that does suspension art and they're an opera singer,
One of
Yeah.
those.
I had to have it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's ridiculous.
It's ready made.
like, where else are you going to see this?
Yeah.
Come to Misfit Cabaret, because you never know what you're going to see.
I was smitten. I was blown away. I didn't know you, and I was like, "Whoa, this is." Because Paul had been inviting me, and but he always invites me to. He's got a lot of things going on there,
Right.
or at least he did then
Right.
when the Great Star was open. And I just happened to be free that night, and he said, "Come over, got Robichaud, you're gonna love it." Blah blah blah. He's kind of like a used car dealer, sort of. And I was like, "Yeah." I kind of went. I just went there to basically hang out with him, maybe have a couple glasses of wine. But I was
Maybe.
like, "Whoa, yeah." And then,
Thank you.
but then I think you were somewhere after that, after the. I don't think it was Misfit Cabaret. I saw you perform. Oh, it must have been the Edwardian Ball.
Yeah, I've done
It was
the Edwardian Ball a few times.
It was the Edwardian Ball in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I got to
That's
go down there
right.
with Dark
Yeah.
Garden.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
We had a
Oh my
great time.
Not
goodness.
suck.
That did not suck. That was a fantastic trip.
Hmm.
Thank you,
Proud of the
Automedom.
city. Holy shit.
That's right. I have a
Hopefully
picture
we're
of
back.
you and Autumn and Melanie. That's from that time. Now my brain's all starting to kind of like.
It's starting to gel. 'Cause
Yeah.
2 glasses in. So
I
that
know.
But this is I don't know if you were asking before, why did I move to San Francisco? Why can't I do this in Raleigh? Raleigh is I don't know, there's something about San Francisco and the art scene here. Everybody looks out for each other.
Yeah.
It's such an incredible community, and it's like I'm getting ready to shoot a cover photo for the song that I'm going to put out about H.H. Holmes. And
Criminal.
Criminal, yeah.
Yeah.
And and I just I hit up Marianne Faulkner and Automedom with Dark Garden, and I said, can you dress me
Yeah.
for this shoot? And I'll give you guys credit and everything, no problem. And that's wonderful, and then Monday, and I needed.
This was done. This is past tense.
I'm doing it this weekend, but like I
gotcha.
went and picked up
Did
the
you warn
garments.
them that you're about the dismemberment and the burning
Oh, well, that's not happening in the shoot.
in the video?
The thing is,
'Cause that's expensive shit.
the whole reason
Yeah.
that I wrote, this past Halloween show that we did was way more of a like pop culture thing, but I found out that Dark Garden really wanted to be involved in the show, and so I said, okay, well, I'll be wearing a corset, so this is kind of like a timepiece kind of thing. I need to write something that's appropriate for it, and that's why I wrote a song about H.H. Holmes.
How'd you already knew about the story?
Oh, because I read Devil in the White City, which is a book about the Chicago World Fair and the architecture, and
Gotcha,
then
that was the
also
tie-in.
about H.H.
Yeah.
Holmes. Yeah,
That's
I was obsessed with
fascinating.
it. Yeah,
How many albums do you have out?
4.
4?
4.
And will you do like one kind of a one a year thing?
Now I have. Before I was putting out albums, I was doing like a big Kickstarter
And
every
these
couple
are
of years.
long play LPs. LPs, I believe we call them.
Long plays.
Yeah, not
yes,
EPs, not
indies.
single.
I've never
you
done
know.
an EP. No, it's
No, an
always
EP's
10,
not a
10
single,
to
2 different
12.
things.
Are you
songs.
pressing them? Are we back to vinyl? You know, we're back to vinyl now.
No, it's
You're
not. No, it's not cost
We're back to
efficient.
vinyl.
We've been back to vinyl for quite some time. It's
The
not
royal,
cost
it's a
efficient.
royal we thing.
It is a royal we thing. Yeah.
Now I'm basically like, what I want more than anything is people to just support me on Patreon so that the song is paid for. I'm not out of pocket. Like recording the song, I'm not out of pocket.
Yeah.
And then I don't have to worry about it, and then it can be consumed in whatever way people want. Whether
But is
it's
it being
Spotify
so is it being distributed
Yeah.
to all the
So
you know,
I have
platforms and stores
distributors
and stuff?
through Sony and
Gotcha,
Red.
gotcha.
Yeah.
In Tibet,
Okay.
you said?
Sony.
in Tibet?
Oh, Sony
In the
and
Tibet
Red.
office?
That would be an
Red
awesome
distribution.
branch for Sony.
They have very nice offices
Up there with the
in
Dalai
Tibet.
Lama, just perched in Tibet.
They buy music.
Do
not sure they do.
so you do you find that the Patreon has more? I mean, obviously you don't know what you get through your distributors. You probably get a cut of whatever they're selling on the digital warehouse, the digital stores, and everything.
Yeah.
But do you sell more through the Patreon? Because I'm curious about these Patreons. It seems like
like with the Kickstarter, with the Patreon, is you're asking for the money up front, so you're not out of pocket.
yeah.
So because it costs, depending on how you do it, it can cost from anywhere from $1,000 to several grand to
Right.
record one song.
Yeah.
And this time around with Criminal, because I've heard so many people say, this is your white elephant. This is like the shit. This is your song.
That's saying something in your
Yeah.
compared to because you've got some great stuff.
Well, thank you. But
Yeah.
but this song, I feel like this has. But I mean, I don't know. Who the fuck knows? But this song has potential to be big, so I put more money into it. I hired Jeff Saltzman to produce it, who was responsible for producing The Killers' Hot Fuzz
Wow.
album.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's in Oakland, and again, Autumn Madame, thank you very much, hooked me up with that connection, and her boyfriend Daniel, and then my mastering artist Piper Payne is friends with Vance Powell, who is the mixing artist and producer for all of Jack White stuff in Nashville, and she hooked me up with that, and so that
He's in Nashville.
Vance Powell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I just sent my tracks to him, and we just talked on the phone, and he mixed it in analog, and
Are you scratching this thing?
he mixed it. He mixed it. Zit, 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 zit,
I thought
zit.
you were going to say because there's so much talent.
He
not
wasn't. He
just-
was. I was moving
Yeah.
the controls.
It's actually more like a
panels.
Stairmaster.
Yeah.
That's still it's full. I'm gonna
Yeah.
take this fader
Yeah.
set.
I don't know. I don't know what he does.
For you
I
folks at
wasn't
home,
there.
we're flailing our
But
arms.
anyway, it was a more expensive song to do, and
Yeah.
I couldn't afford to do it.
You
if
talking
it-
about the mastering, or are you talking about the
the mixing,
the
well,
mixing.
everything, just
Yeah.
like producing, mixing, mastering,
Yeah.
paying all of the artists. It's a phenomenal song. I'm really glad. I love.
I
how
want to
it
hear
came
it right
together.
now.
Well, I'm sorry. You know what?
I
you
didn't
could
really
do?
mean that. I
you
just
could,
meant
you
I'm
could become
excited.
a Patreon backer, and you can hear it in 2
So
weeks.
they have priority.
And you can sign an
Yeah.
NDA
Yeah.
first.
No.
You could
I
get
don't.
your
I don't
third
physically have it
born.
because it's not mastered yet.
The what?
I just know it sounds amazing. It's just not quite
The
finished.
song?
The song, yeah.
No,
It's
not
being
you.
mastered
Him
right.
signed the NDA.
Oh.
I have one in my backpack.
Oh, you got the proper
But until you
forms.
sign that, you can't hear anything. I have all the forms.
The legal-
But yeah, I mean that's
Legalities.
what like with Patreon. That's one of the things that you get is you're going to hear the song months before anyone else because
Yeah.
I can give it to you,
Right.
and then it takes a couple months to set up distribution to have a release date,
Right.
and then for me to like push it to people that can give it some PR,
Right.
promote it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but with Patreon, you don't have to wait. It's like boom.
Video?
Right.
Are we?
I'll shoot a
Yeah.
video, but that'll be a separate Patreon because the song
Yeah.
costs so much.
And you got the whole thing already brain mapped. You know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, so I have a friend in LA named Richie Lillard who is a professional. He's an actor. He's a character actor, and he's one of those guys that will go out on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and he'll
Tear out Donald Trump's star.
No, he spit. He got into a fight. There's a viral video of him getting into a fight. He was dressed as Frankenfurter because he was at that show. Do you remember him?
You mean from the?
He was at the Halloween show that you went to.
Yes, that's right.
He's the professional
Okay,
Frankenfurter.
okay.
He got
Well,
in a
Yeah,
fight.
I forgot there was a
does.
Frankenfurter.
Yeah.
How could
Yeah.
you?
I
He
know.
does an amazing H.H. Holmes.
Because
He looks just like him.
doesn't he look just like who's the actor that plays Frankenfurter? What's his name?
No,
Tim
I
Curry?
don't.
Tim
No,
Curry.
no,
Yes, he gets that all the time.
Do you think that at all?
Yes.
I do actually.
Yes,
I wouldn't,
he
I
does.
wouldn't have,
I don't see
But
it.
when someone points it out, though.
Yeah, well, because
Yeah.
you're blonde and your hair and your facial, your face hair and stuff.
Blonde,
but,
is
like,
that what that's being
if you
called
had-
now?
Gray is the new blonde.
If you had black hair
Maybe I do.
and no goatee or anything.
He's basically
Maybe I
half.
died, right?
He's
Who
half
knows?
Curry and half Michael Keaton. Remember Michael Keaton, the actor Michael Keaton?
I know Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
He's still alive.
So yeah, he's still alive.
Yeah.
He's probably churning out very, very proficient work.
He's doing some good shit.
And
He is doing some good shit.
as are you.
Top notch. Did you see the McDonald's?
Yes, that was
what's
really
it
great.
called? Where
He moves into a
Ray-
McDonald's and then they try and get him out. and he like tears up the
So
interior.
they say Beetlejuice 3 times.
Yeah.
And then poof, he's out.
But see,
he has to sit.
that's just it. Like that was, I don't know. I feel like with Michael Keaton or anybody like that, they've done enough work that they could just sit on their ass for the rest
He's
of
done
their
good stuff.
life, and,
Yeah.
and
But he's
it's
done more
enough. No, you
serious
don't owe
stuff, too,
anyone
right?
anything else.
What
Yeah.
about
Right.
Curry? Is he
Yeah.
still? What happened to him?
He had a stroke,
Oh, did he?
so he's been taking he's been chilling for
He's been
for quite
taken
a while.
aback.
Yeah.
Huh.
Strokes will do that to you.
So
Not recommended.
you know how to
Strokes.
when someone
Yeah,
has a
control
stroke or it's a possibility that
I
they had a
do.
stroke, you know what
Yes.
to ask them, right? You tell them a
Yes.
joke, see if they can laugh because you can't laugh after you had a stroke. It's
My dad
somehow
had a stroke
physiologically
and-
impossible.
My dad had a stroke and chuckled. Not because he had
dad
a
is
stroke.
a superhuman-
Not because he had a stroke, but he was just really tired. He had a minor
Where
stroke.
this
Yeah.
conversation
He was
is
really
Yeah.
tired. And I was like, why are you so tired in the middle of the day type of thing? Actually, my
And
sister
he's
told
like,
me about
yeah,
it.
because I'm stroking. Well,
Yeah.
no, wait, that's different.
Stroke?
Yeah.
But
Oh
I
my
feel like
God.
that too. I want to find
That reminds me of the story I heard. There was this guy, this writer, this lady. She was writing a book about her childhood, and this is going to go. I'm going to go into a really. You ready? to Go into a really dark place.
Oh,
This was
shit.
this is
Okay.
literature. This is raw
I'm
literature.
going to get us around.
Yeah.
You want some? How's that one?
Cabernet Sauvignon, Garcon, s'il vous plaît.
Sure, I'll have another dirty vodka martini, please.
I didn't. That was just, well, vodka.
That's fine.
Okay. All right.
It tastes
love that you-
very
A blue
well.
collar girl. Yeah.
It's making me feel very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I would do this one.
So, anyways, she.
All I care that it's dirty.
She was writing this book. She was going to a seminar. The person who was telling the story was the author of Fight Club. I didn't
Chuck
know.
Palahniuk.
Yes, and so he was telling the story about how he was being interviewed, and they were asking him, well, there's a lot of kind of like censorship going on in literary circles now.
Yeah.
He's very notorious for being obviously very raw. Fight Club, he's done some other stuff from what I hear. but-
Yeah, he's done a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
I've read quite a few of his books, and they're, yeah.
So he's got a lot of unflinching material.
He's quite the cynical writer.
Yeah.
He's very cynical.
So he was being interviewed, and he's talking about. They were asking about censorship, and he goes, "Yeah, it's very." I mean, he was very kind of. I don't know. I guess he's kind of going on this diatribe about this current climate and how some words, can't be used, and he was bringing ideas and a couple pages of stuff he'd written down, and just kind of having people look over and they say, well, you can't. I would obviously leave that word out. That's a hot button now, or this, or you can't talk about this thing. And he was like, oh, this is crazy. And he said. And then this one
It is crazy.
this one girl who was a fellow writer in the workshop, she had brought in this story about how when she was little, and this was autobiographical, non-fictional, her grandpa had taught her to jack him off when she was like 5. And yeah, so that
Oh
right
my
there. But wait,
God.
we go into even deeper waters.
This is a real story?
Yes, and so she's telling the story. She's reading she's got some prose that she's reading for her group. This is a closed, they're all writers. They're kind of critiquing each other and everything and giving each other feedback. And she tells the story, and basically it was her grandpa had taught her to masturbate him. And then what happened was she was outside. I think she was about 7, actually, maybe 7, 8. And she was walking on the sidewalk, and a nest with baby birds had fallen, as they do sometimes on the sidewalk. And so she picked up one of the little birds, and it was, how they are, that it didn't have any feathers yet, and they're kind of just these little membranes. And she said, she doesn't know what came over her, but she, in her mind, like her own psychology was that this bird was going to die, and she was thinking, I should put it out of its misery. Now it was kind of kicking around. It was, tiny, eyes closed bird.
Yeah.
And so she says she starts squeezing it, and she kills it, and then she tells this big kind of just hypnotic narrative about how when she's squeezing it and its last throes of it's kind of like going into this seizure before death, it was the exact same feeling as her grandpa when he was coming. And and everyone just kind of goes, whoo, and he said it was just so, I mean, obviously I'm just telling, and he was even just telling like the cliff notes of it, he's not going into the full, literary, all the colors of how she's explaining it and what she's written. And everyone kind of goes, yeah, that book's never going to get written.
Well,
and so you have to step back and think, well, what are we, what is, obviously that's a very upsetting story, on so many levels. That's very, very...
It's like how Lena Dunham, she got in trouble because in her autobiography or memoir that she wrote a few years ago, she was talking about making out with her. She would like.
This was autobiographical.
Yeah, she would get when she was a very young girl and hadn't processed what it even meant. She would get her sister to take her clothes off and basically make out with her. But
younger, older? I guess not that it matters, but
they're both kids.
Yeah,
they're both kids.
Yeah,
and she got a lot of criticism for that, for saying that. People saying, this is triggering. You shouldn't have written this, but that's what she did as a kid. Yeah. And shit is fucked up. The world is fucked up. You can't censor stuff. And the thing is, if this actually happened to this writer, that's horrific. That's super, super traumatic stuff. But it's her truth.
Yeah,
it's her truth, and she's telling the truth when she says, my grandfather did this to me. Yeah. It wasn't right. It was horrible. But this is what happened to me.
Right.
And then I was outside, and this little bird was going to die, and you said she was 7.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how can you even process anything?
Pre-adolescent.
Yeah. So I think that's a really powerful story, and it is really grotesque and it's really fucked up, but it is somebody's truth.
Yeah.
And so, are we not supposed to share our truths anymore because they're triggering to some people?
This got heavy while I was gone.
I know. I don't even know why we're talking about this.
I thought we were talking about strokes and Michael Keaton.
I don't know how we got on the topic.
We kind of still are,
But I do think, I constantly worry. So, for instance, I wrote a song for...
I wanted to tie it back to you, so yeah, go ahead.
Well, I don't know how you're going to tie it back to somebody masturbating their granddad back to me.
I just mean material.
Yeah, you missed something.
I don't mean the content. I just mean the form of how do you censor yourself?
Oh, no,
what do you, I was exaggerating for effect.
Well, let's see. So I wrote a song a year ago for our fairy tale themed show Grimm. I wrote a song about Donald Trump, and it's called King. And it fits because I sang it as Maleficent and King Stephen's done her wrong and that kind of thing. And I as I was writing the song, I was like, do I make this super obvious that this is about Donald Trump and worry
so you're not
about...
you're not saying his name.
But I do say Mira Mira, who's the Bigley man. Bigley,
gotcha.
Yeah, Bigley.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And it's about a king that is behaving recklessly and
who is terrific. I can tell you that, by the way. Just my Trump impersonation. Sorry, go ahead.
I was like, what? But it was one of those things where I was like, as I'm writing this, do I cover this up? Because I like that Misfit Cabaret is escapism. I don't like people telling political jokes. Mm-hmm. I like people to forget about the world for a couple hours because
I like that.
It's hard enough as
escapism.
It is.
I like
escapism. We don't need it
state
all the fucking time. Right. And I feel like, I've gone to some Broadway shows in the past where they have changed the show to inject it with political satire, and it's like somebody made a feminist joke at, I don't remember what show it was, and the audience applauded, and I was like, because while I appreciate it, I feel like it's pandering, and I feel also that I wanted to escape for a couple hours.
It has nothing to do with whether you agree with the statement or not.
Right. No,
or that you hate feminists.
Right? Well, I consider myself a feminist, but I also don't need to go to a Broadway show and have it shoved down my throat because I get that all day, every day on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram.
Plus, it's a weird, if you have, it's like putting completely disparate bands on the same bill. I hate that shit. Where it's some. I feel like there should be some continuity between them.
Yeah.
And it's a similar thing. Like if you have a Beach Blanket Babylon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Makes all the sense in the world for that.
Well, that's
and
topical.
Be that.
It's supposed. That's its tour de force. Is it's topical.
And also
approach I like a
consider
lot.
consider that. So Jordan and I went to Beach Blanket Babylon to check it out because we're always trying to
everyone should.
educate
It's an
ourselves.
institution.
Sure.
You got to.
Yeah, and we looked at the audience.
It works.
While we were, first of all, it was a very well produced show.
Mm-hmm.
It was very professional. The singing was fantastic. The costumes were amazing, done by Monique Montiel and Arcadia Kane,
Love Monique.
our darling
Yeah.
community.
Yep.
But you look around the room and it's all Midwestern tourists that are
Yeah.
laughing at Bill Cosby rape jokes.
They have Bill Cosby in it now.
Good point.
Yeah.
No, he's not actually.
Well,
in it.
He's
Yeah.
not in it, but they make a Bill Cosby rape joke, and
That would
it
be good,
wasn't.
though.
And the thing is, it's not funny. It
The
wasn't
rape joke
funny.
is not funny?
No, it's not funny. And so Jordan
Well,
and
how
I
do
don't
you-
laugh, but the rest of the audience laugh their ass off.
I guess I'd have to hear the joke.
And
And I'm not asking you to. I mean, you
It
can't
was
really
just.
tell
It was.
a joke.
It was kind of
and-
tone
yeah.
deaf. It was just tasteless.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was,
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
honest with you. But it was kind of like they were making fun of.
Did somebody talk about some Jello pudding?
It's kind of one of those things where, yeah, you can make fun of Bill Cosby all day long. The reason I didn't like the joke was that it was making fun of the women who'd been.
Right.
Oh,
Tape
well, that's different.
Yeah.
That's different.
But anyway, I mean, I hate that
frickin'-
because I
It's hard
just
to
said
think
the
of
show
that
is
as
phenomenal, but also, hey, they told a joke I
Well,
don't like.
yeah.
But you know what?
Yeah.
I'm allowed to not like that joke, and they're
Sure.
allowed to tell that joke.
Sure.
Why are you
And,
putting it
Yeah.
me? I don't like it.
and
You
that's
haven't
the
even
thing is
heard it.
like, it's okay to be offended.
Yeah.
It is okay to be offended, and so I ended up.
Sometimes it's good medicine.
Yeah,
I think.
exactly, because
Yeah.
it makes you think.
Yeah.
Like, why? Okay,
Yeah.
and you walk away. You're like, okay, well, whatever. But for Misfit Cabaret, it's escapism. So I made the song, and it's really obvious that it's about Trump. You can easily read between the lines. I don't say his name or anything, and I'm singing about a king, but it's pretty fucking obvious. And when the song comes out, which I'm gonna put it out in November, I want everybody to know, and I might get a ton of online flack for that. People
might.
telling me that I suck and I should burn in hell.
These
you're
are
largely-
these are very, very
Contentious
capricious,
times.
contentious times.
Sorry, capricious.
But a true artist shouldn't be afraid to.
Correct.
I mean, it's our job
Sure. Yeah.
to speak out.
Just to go
Right.
raw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, and it's also I like the fact that you choose to couch it in a way that's not overt. Again,
Right.
so overt's cool as overt.
Yeah, I mean,
but I
it's
feel
a-
like it's more successful when you couch it, like when it's lightly cloaked, and you're making more of a statement. Like,
Well, it's
what
more
was
intelligent.
All Hail the Thief.
Yeah.
What
It's
was
more
that
intelligent
Radiohead,
that way.
Yeah.
record, right? Similar idea.
Yeah, songs are much better when they're not so obvious, unless it's a comedic song, which this isn't.
Now, how about that in the context of Muskrat Love?
Oh shit.
Muskrat Love.
Sorry.
Yeah, don't act like you don't know that song.
Steve Miller?
No, not
What is-
Steve Miller.
I'm thinking of
That's gonna piss
Abracadabra.
him off if he hears that.
Steve Miller?
No, Muskrat Love. It was this song in the '70s. I think it was Captain and Tennille,
Okay.
and it had muskrats actually on
Okay.
it. Muskrat sounds.
Right. Okay. I'm
Fantastic.
with you so far.
What do you
I've
think
heard
that
of
was?
I've heard of the song. I
what
don't
do
know.
you think it meant?
If it was Captain and Tennille, it probably had something to do with Yacht Rock, I would imagine. I mean, that was kind of their wheelhouse, wasn't it?
Do muskrats swim?
I don't know.
Was what Captain Tennille, was it love
Yes,
will
yes.
keep us together?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
They were kind of pre-Yacht Rock.
They were, but they are proper.
Well,
yacht
they
rock.
dressed
They're
the part.
more- They're yacht pop.
She actually had macrame bell bottoms on, and then he had
That
that,
makes it Yacht
captain
Rock?
thing. Well, yeah.
But
Kind
you
of
know-
like, well, anyway.
So King has a swing to it, and it would actually fit in really well at trapeze.
How'd you full circle
Interesting.
that one? That was
Yeah, did you
impressive.
see
I'm
that? Just navigated
just
it.
You should be in charge.
And that was the third time I think I saw you perform was at
Was at
Trapeze
Trapeze. Well,
doing
that was
MC.
such a fun show.
And I was like, wow, yeah, you
was
were
really
fucking
fun.
phenomenal.
Thank you.
Did you think she was
Yeah.
gonna suck?
No, I didn't. I'd already seen her at that point, so I knew we were in good hands. Yeah. Not that doesn't happen a lot where you're like, they're biting your teeth. Not with you, but some people are like, okay.
I love watching that. It's like
I think Sapiatonic performed that night as well.
disappointment.
Love.
of
They're
them.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
they're
blowing up too. They're really having quite a run.
They're blowing up.
Yeah, they're all over the place. I'm seeing pictures of them on social media where there's, they finally got like the signature Hallmark shot where you get the whole audience behind you and you go, yeah,
And your back's to
and everyone
Yeah.
behind you
Everyone's
is,
going nuts.
and going
Yeah.
nuts. So they've reached that. That's like a tier now in, performing music, I think.
It's
You
a
gotta
lot
get-
bigger than it used to be. The audience shot with the band.
Well, for them,
performer to the back.
they used to
no,
play-
I'm saying as a trend in terms
It's
of
proof.
Yeah.
It's proof that you're good.
Yeah.
Because you're always like, that's
you
what
can
we do.
Photoshop
With,
yourself in like we do with all our shit.
Yeah, we Photoshop crowds in at events. It's all CGI, just miles and miles of
that's what we do at
fans.
Misfit Cabaret. Is we'll do that. We'll shoot video of the audience dancing with us at the end of the night because we want people
Do you have a
to
good
see.
reel
look
of
like real
Misfit
people.
Cabaret? I don't think I've seen it.
Oh my God, we have
Promo
like
reel?
1,000 videos
you really?
on Facebook. Yeah,
Huh, I've
we
never
we
seen
yeah we professionally shoot every single new show.
Who's we? Do you do that with Jordan?
Well, I
Are
mean,
you
we
guys-
hire Andy Strong and Mark Semigan, who are two videographers.
Editors.
No, I'm
and
saying that-
editors. Yeah.
We being
Jordan and I are the producers of the
Okay.
show. Yeah,
what is she like business wise?
she does
How
all
do you guys
the.
separate that?
I do all of the creative.
Okay.
I book everybody, and
I'm the artist.
I'm the artist. I'm the creative
She's
director.
like a production manager.
She
Supremacist.
she does all the administration stuff.
She works her
marketing,
tail off.
and
I don't
she
know about
does.
for you,
She's
but I've
great.
seen her
It's
for
a
Paul,
good-
and she's
it's
just
good,
hustling.
It's a good combo.
Yeah, we are. It's a good team. We've been working together for over 3 years now, and there's a big age difference. We're about 10 years apart, so it's like a lot of the struggles that we've had together, growing a business together, is that I see so much of myself in her and the stuff that I struggled with in my 20s, and now I'm in my 30s.
Right.
And so it's the patience of learning how to communicate with somebody who just is different
Right.
than me.
That's
We're very different,
Yeah.
and I think that's really good. But I'll wake up.
But you guys have a weird physiological similarity, I have to say.
We look a lot alike.
I think it's weird, and I don't want to. And I don't want to
People think
transpose.
we're
And I don't.
sisters.
You're gonna
I don't think
freaking
so.
slap me for this.
Oh shit!
But I think it also
That's what I
because
think
she
works.
looks like she has the same eyes as Paul,
Mm-hmm.
and you sort of have Paul and Nathan's eyes too.
Hold on
I'm
a
fine with
second.
that.
I think it. Yeah, and I say that as
Oh, yeah, I
a
see
compliment,
that.
but a lot of people would be like, and it's weird. And I've told him that. I'm like, when I first found out about you, I said, "Who's this? Is this another?
another
is this another
niece."
niece?" Like, because that's what I actually thought.
Well,
And he
Paul
goes,
is like an uncle to me.
well, he's like an uncle to all of us,
Yeah.
hence the name. But I said, "Is this one of Jordan? Is this Jordan's sister?" Because I thought you were Jordan's sister.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, "No, she's not related to us. She's from North Carolina, blah blah blah." I was like, "That's odd because she kind of has the same eyes as you and Jordan."
Jordan and I, right now, we have the exact same color hair. We're
Yeah.
the same height. We're the same size.
Yeah.
People constantly get us confused.
Are the eyes similar? Do you think the eyes are similar?
They have the
No,
same.
do you think the eyes are similar?
I don't know. I'd have to.
Yeah,
I'd
I
have to
don't-
go
I
back.
don't-
But we do get people mistake us for sisters all the time.
Yeah.
I mistake you for no one, just like today. She walked up
that's-
today. We were waiting
but that's
outside.
normal.
And
That's super
I was
normal.
like, God damn, I recognized her. She had glasses on. This one.
Like
Had
big old
sunglasses.
Bono
on.
sunglasses,
Like,
Anteater.
I should know.
No,
I
like
should
me-
know.
like
Fly.
mechanic
Dick.
sunglasses that
Glacier
have
So
the,
I couldn't
glasses.
see
the little.
Yeah.
Glacier glasses.
I think they have the little mesh folding
Yeah.
that goes in.
We in the
They're for
80s.
glaciers.
I'm new wave. I'm old. Yeah. So speaking of,
So then we. Yes, go on. Sorry.
speaking of, you were talking about doing Tourette's. Our
Yeah.
next guest is Jamie DeWolf.
I love
So
Jamie.
thank you for
Yeah.
showing up. He's going to be here in 5 minutes.
Oh, great. Great.
I have an important announcement though. SM7 was the mic. I looked it up on the slide. It's an
Okay.
SM7.
Yeah. All right.
And this goes back. We were talking
The
up
Michael
front
Jackson microphone.
before we came in here. Michael Jackson
Michael Jackson recorded Thriller.
Thriller.
Michael
on
Jackson
SM7,
recorded
which is an
Thriller.
SM57, which is a $70-$80 mic.
No.
It's kind of the
No,
big
it's
brother
a
to an
$200
SM50.
mic.
Well, I'm saying, but the SM57 is kind of like this
I guess it
Beta
would've been in the
58
80s.
is 2 or 3 times
Now-
as expensive as this 58, but it's a very simple mic, and most of the recording vocally that's done.
Was that the genius of? And help me out again. I
Tends
don't
to
know
be
why
it.
he's the most famous producer and
Quincy.
jazz. Quincy Jones.
Yeah.
Was that his idea?
I would imagine.
I don't know.
No, I think
I'm
you
not
would have listened to
I'm not a
it.
music producer, and so
I'm certainly not a tech geek.
I
he
don't,
would've
yeah,
said-
I'm not a
I
tech
don't know.
geek, and I just write the music, and then I hire people to record it professionally.
Yeah.
It's not on me.
You don't have a steady band that's like you take into the studio?
Oh yeah, but I have a steady band. I'm
Yeah.
talking about people who are actually hooking up microphones
Oh, gotcha.
and setting
Yeah.
levels
Yeah,
and
yeah.
knowing how the room sounds and knowing how to
Yeah.
get the best sound from that room. And
Sound engineers.
No,
sound
that's
engineers,
so
mixing,
much-
stuff
it's
like
so
that.
much-
There's so much to
If
it.
you
yeah.
are a person, and Michael Jackson was actually an accomplished, I wouldn't say he was a recording engineer, but he knew what the hell was going on with it, right?
He is a smart
So it
dude.
might have been his decision, but I would bet that Quincy said, "Let's try this because of the pattern of the mic and the sound quality."
Yeah,
of it."
Quincy was the brains behind
And
all
really,
that.
the more
It'd
the
be
more
on that
that you
decision.
record, the more that you spend time in a studio, you do pick up on certain things and learn certain things. But I couldn't go. I mean,
That's
you know,
why musicians become producers.
But I don't think I would ever become a producer.
Billy Corgan. I'm just reading a thing on him. A lot of people. Steve Albini. He's a big producer.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
that's really common.
Yeah.
That's really
Well, I
common.
mean, I'm saying-
Jack
I don't
White
think-
produces.
The
I don't think
Eagles'
there's a
greatest
lot of
hits just
musicians.
surpassed Thriller as the.
I know, I don't
as
wanna talk
the-
about
I
that.
know. Never mind.
I don't want to talk about that. Speaking of like yacht rock, dad rock. Nothing against the
was it?
Eagles, but Michael Jackson is. You know what?
Why
You know
can't
what?
we
To
have
each their own. They're
apples
both-
and watermelons? Why
yeah,
can't
exactly,
we? Yeah.
exactly. They're
Yeah.
both phenomenal. It's just like I'm not a fan of the Eagles. I'm wrong.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
No, I am. I
About
am.
what?
Well, now let's
Because they're
break
very
that
very
down.
popular.
Let's break that down. When you say you're not a fan, because that could mean many different things. You're not a fan of their songwriting. You're not a fan of their sound. You're not a fan of them as people, from whatever you've heard about their.
Oh, I don't know anything about them.
Oh, well, it gets way worse than what
She
you
just
think.
hates them.
I just don't like.
Because they are hateable
they're
motherfuckers.
They don't really. Their music has never grabbed me. Michael Jackson's music has.
One of these
has really
nights,
grabbed
They're-
me.
one of these nights
Yeah.
doesn't grab you.
I
I
mean, see, the thing is, like
It's so
Hotel
cracker.
California.
It's so cracker.
I know Hotel California is one of the
There's
biggest
nothing
songs
wrong
of all
with
time, but it's
Wow.
also like so played out, you know.
Yeah.
That by the time I was born and started like, or you know, in college or whatever, started taking music really seriously, I was really tired of hearing that song.
Which one?
Yeah.
Hotel California. Because when I was learning how to play guitar and piano, my instructors were like, on guitar, my instructor was like, okay, you need to learn how to play Hotel California. I was like, can we not though?
That's funny
Think
because
about
I
how
took
many-
guitar lessons
else.
too. When I
And learned
first,
it.
my parents gave me, they gave me a guitar for Christmas in 4th grade,
Yeah.
and they said, they got me the lessons. I went to the guy, and I remember he just chain smoked, and then he'd pick up a guitar. That reminds me, I need to have a cigarette. Anyway, he picked up the guitar and he played "Dust in the Wind." You know, oh yeah, is the, and then he wanted me to learn that song, and that was the end of guitar lessons for me. I'm like, I'm not learning "Dust in the Wind."
Because you
I'm
didn't
out
like
of
the
here.
song?
Well, apparently it was contemporary at that time.
It's not a simple song as far as
No,
starting an
it's
instrument
very-
is.
The White Stripes was
You know,
what
very
was
meticulous.
kind of my saving grace as far as like
Guitar music.
saving you from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
So
know.
you play.
I play guitar and I
Yeah.
play piano.
Yeah.
I wrote my first 2 albums on guitar, and I've written my last 2 albums, and then all of the songs
How did you get
on piano.
How did you get piano? How did you tackle that? Or
Because when I was writing music on the guitar, I had a lot of musician friends say that it's a lot easier to write music on a piano because it's more of a universal instrument.
Elton John, ring any bells?
It's just
Dilly.
a lot easier.
Hmm.
It's
Dally.
just very
Do.
linear, and it's it just translates better
Liberace's ringing
to
some
other
bells.
instruments. Yeah, so
And I think there's a weird thing where you have musicians go one way or the other when
Yeah.
it comes to guitar or
Yeah.
the keyboard bass. I grew up. I learned keyboard as
do
my
both.
first instrument.
yeah.
And I would way rather write music on a keyboard than a guitar. Partly because I can't play guitar at all. I can play
I'd rather
a G,
learn. I'd rather
Right.
learn
That
on a
only goes
French
so
horn
far.
than a bassoon. Partly because
But
I
if
know
you
nothing about
listen
either
to
of them.
how those two camps write music, it's often like very
Well,
different.
The piano has always felt more natural to me because I had a grandmother who had an upright.
I'm gonna go get.
So whenever
Grab me one
whenever I would go to visit her, I would sit there and play the piano.
Okay.
Y'all can put some alcohol away.
What'd you learn it
Sorry?
on? What was your first instrument? Was it piano?
It was, but then I played clarinet in middle school, and then my teacher.
How'd you do that? Why? I mean,
It was
why'd
just-
you choose it?
because my mom had a clarinet from when she was in middle school. It was just
Do you
laying
still play?
around.
Do you play?
No, I don't. I played for a few years, took it very seriously, and then my teeth went crooked from it, and so then I got braces and I stopped.
Fixed,
Yeah.
those are not pretty much anymore.
No, they're very straight. No, but the piano is it's just such a beautiful instrument, and I think it's just so soothing, and I think it lends way more to writing melodies.
Right.
With guitar,
That's kind of what I'm speaking to.
I'm not saying the guitar
seems
it's
to
not
be
limited
more,
or anything,
yeah,
but I
it seems
think
to
the
be more
piano is more
chord-based,
universal.
right?
Well, yeah, I mean, but
On guitar.
yeah, I mean, I do write a lot of I guess you would call them riffs on or melodies on the piano, very specific little melodies that I write to purposefully put somebody in a specific mood.
Right. That's what I'm
I don't know
kinda
how
speaking
familiar
to
you are with my
what?
original music, but
I am not.
Yeah, but I write.
Are you familiar with my original music?
No,
Just so
Oh,
I
you
feel
guys have
better
gotten
about
so personal.
I'm not at all.
There's no reason why.
Apologies.
It's probably better that you're not.
I wish I
But
hadn't
write,
been.
I've got a song.
Sorry.
I've got a song about being afraid of the dark, and the melody that I wrote for that is supposed to make you feel like you're a child again in a bedroom, and you don't have a nightlight, and you're scared of the dark, and something is some shadow is being cast on the wall that looks like something, and you're afraid of it. And
It's
I'm
like
already scared. Stop.
it's like horny little bastard. Similar song.
Yes.
Similar song.
You guys have very parallel paths. Yeah. What I want to ask you what where's the song
That was
going?
a song, by the way. It's a song that I did about the dark.
Horny Little
It's
Bastard?
Yeah.
About the dark, but it's a totally different type
right
of
on,
dark.
right on.
But
Where's this all going? And I don't mean that as like some asshole ambitious question about where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Well,
But-
can I interrupt?
Do I
this
have a
real
plan?
quick?
Well, no.
Before
I
you
don't.
I don't
answer
even
that
have a
question.
Well, go ahead.
Because going back to the Patreon thing, as we hop rails in this little train wreck of a conversation, a good train wreck. By the way, that should maybe
It's
be
better
our
than some
maybe that
podcasts.
should be our slogan.
Just stick with the trains.
That's what I'm
Stay on
trying
track.
to keep
Stay
it
on
off
track. Okay.
With Patreon, I remember when Patreon first surfaced. It's like, hell yeah, that's brilliant. You can actually give people a direct avenue.
You'd been talking
to
about that for
support-
years, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to support the
Yeah.
artist
Yeah.
directly,
Yeah.
right? Like it's all direct, which
Yeah.
is very cool shit because that means if you play your cards right in that situation, instead of getting a 50% payout on the songs you sell through most services right now, 49, 50%, you can actually sell songs at whatever price range you want and control that.
I've
And-
never been signed.
right, and that's
the
that.
main
Those days
reason.
are largely.
So when I got off The Voice, one of the best things that happened from The Voice is it connected me with Amanda Palmer, who I'm an enormous fan of.
Yeah.
So she and I have been friends for a few years now.
Another
And-
Paul Nathan hook. You know how it all small world.
Yeah,
they're
know
great
each-
friends.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Paul
Yeah.
Nathan's responsible for her success. We talked about this already.
I can't wait until he gets back from Edinburgh. I swear to God. Oh,
Me
are you
either.
successful?
Yeah. Tell him. He's gonna go.
nice.
Did Dilly? He's gonna. Did Dilly tell you that? Anyways, keep on.
I love Paul Nathan.
Hell yeah.
For all of his quirks. No, so I got off The Voice and I had a bunch of people pulling me in different directions saying you should sign with a label. I put two
Would
albums
labels
out.
actually come into your sliding contracts on the table for you?
No, because
Yeah.
because at the time I was 30, and that's
Old for
really
labels.
fucking old. Yeah. So, and also I wanted to do glam rock, which is also not a big seller,
Not yet.
How did they know you were 30?
because I told them.
They
Okay.
called
That's the
it her-
first thing you
'Cause
say
when
to
you're- 'cause-
labels.
No. When
I
you're-
know
when
you
you're on
love me and I'm great, but
No, when
I'm
you're-
30.
When you're on The Voice, they tell everybody your
Oh, they
age.
give that biographical-
like
wow.
your name and your age are written at the
Oh,
bottom of the screen.
shit.
And why do I shouldn't have to
That's
lie
a
about?
major.
But I shouldn't have to lie
No, you
about
should
how
not
old
have
I
to
am.
lie
Well,
about
no,
that.
I
whole
mean-
thing's
That isn't. That is.
Well, that's
not,
what I'm
that
saying.
Doesn't put that's
but
not a
what I'm saying
value
is
or-
that shouldn't even be relevant on the show, on The Voice. Like they shouldn't be putting. I mean, who cares? Why is that? What?
But it is. Is that a
Yeah.
dog?
No, it's relevant because
Can I? What kind of dog?
it's relevant because
Yorkie mix.
Oh my goodness! Come here.
What's going on with that mix?
what's that?
Can the dog be on the podcast?
Yeah, of course.
We're coming close to wrapping up our podcast.
We've got a Yorkie
recording.
mix on the podcast.
Okay, I gotta start setting up.
I'm sorry. I don't
Stop that thing.
remember
yeah.
what we were talking about because the dog came into
Does that really just delete your whole mainframe like that? Yorkies?
Yeah.
It's like a giant, short-legged magnet.
Okay. So what? Yeah. So I didn't. No. So I could have pursued labels more, but then I was. So I got eliminated from the show, and at that point, Amanda and I had connected, and she invited.
How'd you hook up with Amanda?
Our fans on Twitter. Because every interview that I did while I was on The Voice, they asked who my influences were, and I would say Amanda Palmer was one of them.
Yeah.
And so our fans connected us.
I mean, it makes so much sense when I think about it, but I never thought of that.
I love Dress Dolls and Amanda.
Yeah.
So I got eliminated. They flew me to New York to be on the Today Show, and it just so happened that Amanda and her husband Neil Gaiman were doing a show at the same time, and so Amanda invited me to come and perform with them. And so
no, wait a minute,
Neil
I've
Gaiman.
seen this. This is a video, or there's some sort of footage of this.
Yeah, there's YouTube footage of it.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we're backstage, and I said, Amanda, what should I do? Should I sign with the label? Should I do a Kickstarter? She goes, don't sign with the label. Do a Kickstarter.
Yeah, she fucking had it.
Well,
she
she's
was very smart.
obviously
Crazy
a complete
success story
anomaly.
with that.
Or
Well, she was
anomalous
signed
and-
with the label. She did have a lot of
Yeah,
success with the
Dresden
label,
Dolls. She
did her
but then the
own
label
deal.
fucked her over, and then she got out of it, and she
And
went on.
raised $2 or $3 million, right? For
Over $1 million.
Not without a
amazing.
little bit of pedestrian controversy, though.
what,
She
in what
had-
respect?
there was a couple little
Right,
little
but people
snits.
people love to
People love her, and she has
people
a dedicated
love her,
fan base.
and people love to tear into her as well.
Of course, yeah.
So she's a very controversial artist, but the thing is, when you are not, and I think that this is the main issue with people streaming music and not buying it, not buying albums at shows and whatever, is that if you're not in the music industry, you have no idea, you have no concept of what it is to make a living as an artist.
Right.
And so, people saw that she made $1 million on Kickstarter,
Right.
and in their minds, she's just walked away with $1 million. They don't consider how much it costs to put that album together.
Right.
They don't consider how much it costs to market that album. They don't consider how much it costs to tour that album. They don't consider any of that stuff, or how much it costs to
Get to that place.
produce those
In the
vinyls.
first place, right?
To produce all those vinyls and all of those CDs and the art books and everything that she was offering through the Kickstarter, and then to physically mail it out, and she didn't charge people for shipping.
Really.
So at the end of the Kickstarter, she's left with very, very little.
Yeah.
Because of volume, the amount of people who
Exactly.
contributed to it, she's got to cover
Exactly.
that, and you're exactly right.
So she didn't make $1 million on the
No,
album.
hell no.
She made enough to put out a phenomenal album that in turn she hopes to sell to other people, right?
Right.
So, I get, with digital sales, I make money from my songs. It's not enough to write home about. I pay rent through Misfit Cabaret, and then if I want to produce art, then I need other people's support,
Sure.
like through Patreon, in order to pay
Sure.
for it, because we know how expensive it is to live in San Francisco, and that's the thing. I had a friend of mine who has been signed with a label, and they were considering Patreon, but they don't want to come across their fans as needing money, because they've had a really nice front going for years, where their fans think that they're rock stars and
Right.
that they have a shitload of money. And the truth of the matter is, they really don't. They're constantly looking for new ways to make money, because none of them have money.
Yeah,
there's
there's
no
not-
money.
Yeah.
And so they were faced with the dilemma of, do we go the Patreon route, where we're honest with our fans and say, we love producing this music for you guys, but we need your help. And
I love that.
I have taken the approach that Amanda has taken, and Amanda has been very, very successful with this for a long time, where she has been very open and honest with her fans, and she said, the music industry's changed. There are no giant checks being written. There's none of that. People aren't paying for music
Come
anymore.
to Dirty Vault, baby.
What's that?
Dirty Vault is our music
skip-
label.
we skip checks all together.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
But no, I mean, that's the thing, is like, it's just, the music industry is like so dead as to what everybody thinks.
And it was
systemic.
always
It's a
shitty
systemic
deal.
thing.
It was
It's
always
the
a
whole
shitty deal
thing.
to begin
There
with.
is a reason.
Colossally shitty.
The reason that Patreon and Kickstarter and all of these platforms exist is because the music industry doesn't exist anymore. And the only
No.
way that artists, like, you've got the 1% the Beyoncés and whatnot that have the label paying for stuff and they're making money and they're doing endorsements or whatever. And that's the echelon. Like, that's incredible. Good for you. But I would say 99% of us aren't there. We're not signed with the label. We don't have that. And we do need our fans to essentially, and it's not charity. We're giving you stuff in return.
It's absolutely not charity, yeah.
It's just, you're just saying, I really want this music and I'm going to pay for it up front. That's it.
Yeah.
And in return, you get really cool stuff like behind the scenes footage. You get the song way ahead of time. You get personal emails from me and then other like really cute stuff like illustrations, cards in the mail. You get special
Visiting your
Christmas
grandmother.
candies.
Yeah, like,
Out of the blue.
yeah.
Visiting your grandmother.
I've done Skype chats. It's just whatever. You have to.
So
It's a
you're
beautiful
what you call
medium.
an accessible artist.
I'm extremely accessible.
But that's where it sits
we used to
now.
call
It has
that.
to
We
be
used to
that
call
way.
that punk rock.
Because the label, here's the deal. The labels have always
I'll take
based
that. Thank you.
have always based their success on having the cream of the crop cover most of their costs, right?
Right.
The fact of the matter is that people don't buy music anymore, so labels don't have
Yeah.
money just to randomly
Sure.
throw around.
Yeah.
That's
And-
why it's
yeah.
shriveled up. It's also opened up the way for artists to go in like you're doing, do your own
Yeah.
thing, where you can get people, and then that shifts the math open.
Yeah.
If you can hit the
Yeah.
point where you're having 100,000 people support you, right? Not you, if one does, right?
Not
What
me.
and you. I don't know where your numbers are, but I'm saying if you can hit the kind of numbers, even at 100,000, which in label speak is not that big of a number of paying fans, but you're now owning that financial
Sure.
situation, right?
Yeah,
So there's
Well,
no
see,
recoupable costs.
that's
There's
the
none of that
thing.
bullshit. It's just
That's
what
the
it is,
thing.
and that's
So
awesome.
the thing. Okay, so this is a great story to tie into that. So Amanda, she put out an album with the Dresden Dolls
Right.
through Roadrunner, which was a major label. Put her on tour with Nine Inch Nails, so that's but they.
Is that Nine
Have
Inch
you heard of
Nails?
Nine Inch Nails?
I've heard of them. I've not heard of the
country
label.
rock, like a new
No,
country band.
Roadrunner. No, Nine Inch Nails is not on Roadrunner.
Yeah, okay.
Trent Reznor has his own label,
Okay,
Interscope.
gotcha.
Anyway, so they were on Roadrunner, but they got to go on tour with Nine Inch Nails. So that was the good thing. But they put this album out through this label, and they sold 25,000 copies. Well, Amanda said, "I think that's awesome." The label said, "That's not good at all. We're gonna
shit.
stop promoting you. You're gonna be put on our back burner." Kind
How
of
many?
thing.
How many units?
She sold 25,000 copies.
Wow.
This was back when people really still were like buying albums and buying stuff on iTunes and whatever. So then she puts her Kickstarter out, raises $1 million. How many people do you think contributed to that Kickstarter?
Amanda Palmer. I mean, I'm taking a swing in the dark. I have no idea.
But think about it. She put out an album that everybody loved. It sold 25,000 copies. Then she does a Kickstarter, raises $1 million. How many people do you think? It's an ironic number. How many people do you
I can tell this is a trick question that I'm walking into. It's either something really abominably low or really hypnotically high.
It's 25,000 people.
The same as wow. That's
So
kind of
the support is there.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's just don't sit there and count sales. It's about what these individual fans
Right.
are. It's the longevity. It's what they're going to continue to contribute, and it's not. And a lot of times, it's not even about the monetary gain. It's just. I use the Tinkerbell analogy all the time.
I don't know the Tinkerbell analogy.
If you're on Patreon, if you're a Patreon backer of mine, and like the lowest amount you can give is $1, and you're giving $1, that is a clap for me, right?
Yeah.
So it shows me that you gave a shit. You cared enough to go on Patreon and say, "Hi,
Yeah.
I'm here and I like you. I don't have a lot
Yeah.
of money, but here's $1." That means a lot to me. And so it's like with the Tinkerbell analogy is if every single time somebody says, "I think you're awesome," or somebody comes to it, buys a ticket to a show, or they
Right.
buy an album or they buy a T-shirt, or they support you on Patreon or Kickstarter or whatever, that's the Tinkerbell analogy of
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
The Tinkerbell analogy is if Tinkerbell's dying and people clap and then it brings her back
Yeah.
to life. That's the Tinkerbell analogy. So
Funny.
It is.
It's Tinkerbell.
She doesn't die. It's fine.
No, it's a lot of fairy dust in those wings on Tinkerbell. Well, so to bring it back around, so what I was talking about earlier, I didn't mean, where do you see this whole vehicle traveling to? What I meant was, what do you in the next, let's just look out, let's scan over the next 2019.
Right.
Yeah, and obviously we're just claymation, kind of molding
There's no
stuff.
commitment.
There's no commitment. Yeah.
Well, there is because
Because we've been
there
talking
is.
so much, and so this is what we've been talking so much about Misfit Cabaret, but that's not all. That's like one little ingredient in your wheelhouse, I know, and we haven't even talked about some other stuff.
it's a pretty large ingredient. It's my main.
yeah.
It's my main thing. It's
Yeah.
what I
Jam.
focus. Yeah, it's what I
Yeah.
focus everything on, and all the music that I'm currently producing and putting out right now. It's all written for Misfit Cabaret.
Which is a
Yeah.
fucking brilliant show, by the way.
Thank
What
you.
is-
Seriously.
there's
And I
some-
like that quality. I like that you brought that quality, if I can be frank, to San Francisco, because I feel like San
Thank you.
Francisco's.
It was already here, I just harnessed
Yeah,
it
but it's
and-
also. I feel I've been here for 25 years and thickly immersed in the entertainment scene, and it's gotta. There's a possibility you can hop up to something better on a collective level that it hasn't hit yet, and it's become more tricky because there's less people who go to shows like ours at this point than there used to be.
Well, I mean,
Do you think
you
so?
have
I
to
thought
create
it
an
was-
So far,
environment.
for sure.
Yeah, you
We've
have to
experienced
create.
that.
You have to
That's
create
how
an
it's-
environment.
Yeah.
You have
What
to
I
build a, yeah.
what I noticed when I was still living in North Carolina, I would go out and I would see phenomenal bands, and they would be playing to 35 people.
Right.
Then I would go and see a burlesque show, and there would be 200 people there. And the talent, the bands.
You hear that, Jim Sweeney?
No, Jim's already got an earful from me. He doesn't need to. We've already talked. But you know, the thing is, like, the bands, you know, they work their asses off, and nobody cares because it's not the trend, right?
Yeah.
Everybody,
And there's
burlesque
not
shows are
there's not
fun.
naked
Yeah.
ladies.
It's fun. It's a fun atmosphere, and it's exciting. And like that was when right before I moved, Raleigh was getting a really big burlesque scene, and for the first time, and it was really exciting. And you know, oh God, you know, men can go out with their girlfriends or their wives and stare at beautiful women all night, and it's fine because the women are doing it too, and whatever. But what I like about Misfit Cabaret is that if you don't like this act, you're going to like the next act.
So
There's
you have
something
burlesque
for
performers in.
everyone.
It's-
We absolutely
it's variety.
do.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I love
Yeah,
burlesque.
yeah.
But what I don't like is when people mistake Misfit Cabaret and think that we are a burlesque show just because we have cabaret in the name.
I don't think
Yeah.
that.
And people, well,
Do you
but,
think that?
but you're both in the
I don't think
you are
you
both in the
do.
San Francisco entertainment industry. Whereas if you're a civilian who is not in the entertainment industry, and you're not.
Yeah, you're
or-
reading it in the paper
you
or
have
whatever
no idea.
you're interfacing.
Yeah,
it.
so when people say we're a burlesque show, I very quickly correct them because we're not. We're a variety show.
No, I would
We have
never.
I haven't.
one
Yeah.
burlesque performer, and then we'll have a drag performer, we'll have an aerialist, we'll have some kind of vaudeville act, we'll have a musical guest,
Sure.
and then the rest of the night is
No
me and my
clowns.
band
Cabaret.
doing weird shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But you were
let's-
saying we're booked. We have a year of shows booked in Seattle and San Francisco.
When are you
So we'll be
coming back
bouncing
to? Let's
and
talk
forth.
about that.
What
Where
happened
are
with
you going to be
Seattle?
performing in
Where's
Seattle? Yeah.
Seattle comes from Paul.
no, I
he
mean
already
the
had it.
venue and the dates.
It's Hales Palladium, Hales Ales in Fremont. That's where they put on Moisture Festival.
Never heard of it.
Right.
I've heard of
It's
Moisture
a really,
Festival.
it's a really
I
phenomenal
was always
little.
wondering about that. Like, it's
great.
because I feel like Portland, Seattle's a little tricky.
Well,
Portland's definitely a little tricky too.
Yeah, I mean, we've been
But I feel like
trying to. We're working on getting into Portland and LA this year, but because we, Jordan and I, decided to go out on our own this year, we're no longer working with Paul.
Mm-hmm.
We're completely on our own. He's no longer producing us or anything. It's just the two of us. We took the summer to go legit, get an LLC set up, trademark Misfit Cabaret, get a new website. And now we have a year-long residency at Z Space in San Francisco and a year-long residency.
Now, where's that
Mission
at?
Street.
I'm a little bit out of
It's
the
in
loop
the
on.
Mission. It's right
Where-
around-
Space is where Transmission used to be.
across from the DNA.
It's a gorgeous theater. I'm so
on
stoked to
9th
have it.
or 11th and
Is it on?
11th
Florida.
and.
Florida Street.
Oh, it used to be the
Oh, no,
Monkey
no,
Brains
not Z
or whatever.
Space. Right.
That monkey bar.
But there was Z Space. Remember Z Space? At one
Z Space was the old.
was the-
Z Space is in an old
Transmission.
cannery.
Yeah.
And it's a really, really large black box theater that seats about 250, and it's just gorgeous.
Different place.
And I
That's
have a
where
friend-
Paul moved after the Great Star.
Well, he did one show there.
He did one show there.
He did one show.
Yeah.
I don't think Z Space is quite right for Paul, but it's really great for Misfit Cabaret. So we're gonna do a year there and see how it goes. But the staff is wonderful. The theater is gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's really
So
like
when does that start up? When does that kick off?
that starts the last 2 weeks of that's the last week of October and the first week of November, and we'll do Halloween night too, which is a Wednesday. But the thing about I know everybody's like, oh,
Dipping
Halloween
into
falls on a-
October, huh? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Everybody's like, oh, Halloween's
see you
on a
on the
Wednesday
battlefield.
night. That's kind of a bummer. Oh, I know. We all compete, but
It's Halloween.
yeah.
Oh, I'm not doing shit. I'm taking my kids trick or treating. I don't mean
Oh,
me
no,
personally.
you're not.
Yeah.
But
I already talked to your kids
Bring
about
them
this.
to
They
Misfit
want nothing to
Cabaret.
do with it.
is it?
So we're doing. So the nice thing about so we're doing 2 weeks, but one of the nights is on the 31st. It's Halloween night. It's Wednesday. But the great thing about that is that we start at 8. We'll be over by 10:30, so you can still come rock out with us, go to bed, and then get up and go to work the next morning.
All right, kids.
And feel like
perfect.
Mommy's going to take you home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to rock out with Cat Robichaud.
Yes.
I'll see you guys.
It's gonna be a good show.
Don't worry. I'm in good hands with Uncle Paul. Oh, Melanie would slap me if I ever said that to her.
I'll slap you.
I don't
She's
think
learned the
Paul will
hard.
be
She's
there.
I
learned
will
the
slap
hard
you
way.
without a reason. You know that.
So that's Misfit Cabaret.
We have to wrap it up.
Yeah.
we should wrap
Because
it
they're
up.
moving in.
Well, I just want to get these out, these dates out. So that's Misfit Cabaret in late October. You're going to be in Seattle before that.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
What are the
in
Seattle dates? Did we talk about those?
October.
It is the first week of October, but it's the last week of September. So,
So you do two. How many shows do you do?
We'll do 6. We do we're right now we do a run of 6.
Thursday, Friday,
and
Saturday.
please tell me you
own.
own catrobichaud.com.
Oh, of course I do.
Okay, so that's where people can go.
Oh yeah.
Do you own
find out information.
AaronDailesShow.com?
Sure do.
No, you don't. Don't wake
I don't
me.
own anything. I don't own this hat. I don't own these underwear. I own nothing.
We gotta wrap it up. I won't tell that story. It's a whole other tangent, but
I just wanted
Yeah.
to say if there's any other shows that because
I'm
if there's
doing-
anything in September.
yeah, I'm doing the September Tourette's Without Regrets. It's a fairy tale themed show. We're gonna bring.
And that's Jamie. That's monthly, right?
Yeah.
So he does it.
Yeah.
What? It's a Thursday.
This is our
First
Thursday?
Thursday?
Second. All right, this is my third Tourette's that I've done.
Okay.
Veteran status. is what we call that
I
now.
adore
Yes.
Jamie. I love the
Yeah,
stories
Jamie's
that
a
he
good guy.
tells on Snap Judgment and like all that crazy
Yeah,
stuff.
he's awesome.
Raised by Wolves is ridiculous. And then I'm also doing my friend Layla, who is known to the public as Rabbit Quinn. She's partnering with Paradox Media that does the Edwardian Ball. She's doing a labyrinth-themed ball
Oh,
at
boy.
the chapel.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy. The
And
chapel.
that is, I believe, it's September 8th. It's a Saturday night, and it's going to be gorgeous. It's going to be like you're in the ballroom scene from Labyrinth
Yes.
with the masks, the masquerade, and everything.
Awesome.
And she just did a Kickstarter for it, and it was very, very successful. It's going to be a phenomenal show.
And here's what
Cool,
should
cool.
happen: August 8th or September 8th. August
Logos.
is also Lagunitas Beer Circus.
I like
Oh,
the
yeah.
like
So
the
you
short
should
and
go
form.
to Lagunitas Beer Circus
Okay.
if you're a human who drinks.
Yeah.
It's done
heard
at
of
5
those.
p.m.
Okay.
and then get a little buzz on and come up and see the show.
Yeah.
Can people buy tickets at that show, or is that all through the Kickstarter campaign?
No, I think you can buy tickets through
can do at the door?
Yeah, they only let. I think Paradox Media and the Chapel only let them sell a specific amount of tickets through the Kickstarter,
Yeah.
and it's going to be open to the
I
public.
love that notion too. It's kind of like the Patreon thing.
Yeah.
Where the idea of using crowdfunding to actually make
I'm
the
telling
event.
you,
We've
you've been
talked about
talking about
with
this for
Trapeze.
decades.
Yes.
You've been talking about this.
To have that pay for the show is awesome.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot more of that. For sure. Smart shit.
All right, kiddies, I'm going to wrap this up on behalf of myself, Della Show, and the clown, and the
You
queen.
just forgot my name. Great.
Bono, I think it's
No.
Bonobo?
I saw you.
Bonobo the clown?
I saw you. You got hung up on that.
Bonobo, right?
Clown.
Is that your
I
the
appreciate
clown.
the amount
Bonobo
of
the clown,
drinks that have been
And I
consumed.
especially want to extend a nice appreciation to Cat Robichaud, the queen bitch of Patreon.
Oh shit! Thank
Yeah.
you. Well, no,
There we
actually,
go.
I think Amanda Palmer's a queen bitch of Patreon, but
Second in command, Sergeant at Arms.
yeah, no, she's killing it on Patreon. Yeah, she's killing it.
Au revoir.